Hey everyone, this is Cameron. I'm a software engineer over at Armory, and today I want to talk to you about delivering plugins to Spinnaker. We have a few assumptions in this video. The first being you have a plugin that you would like to deliver to a running Spinnaker installation. Luckily enough, we have this PF4J stage plugin that is open for anyone to use under the Spinnaker plugin examples project on GitHub. For your plugin, you'll need to have a release, and the release will need to contain both a backend.zip file as well as a front-end component for the plugin, which will be a JavaScript file. That's only needed if you have a front-end component. We'll be using this release version 1016 today, as we're going to be using Spinnaker 1.19.4. So besides the plugin, you also need to have a plugin catalog, and we have one of those available as well. So in the same project, in the example plugin repository, we have some configs that show how to use both the PF4J stage plugin, which is the random weight plugin, as well as the repositories.json and plugins.json, which are the catalog. The repository is listed down here, which corresponds to this file. If we check it out, we can see that there's a list of repositories, and this repository points to the plugins.json file in the same project. So let's take a look at that. If we take a look at plugins.json, we can see there's a list of different plugins, and for each plugin there's a list of releases. Since we're looking at version 1016, let's take a look at that. We can see that the URL for this plugin points to the zip file we just saw earlier. It also contains a shawsum to doing checksum, contains state, date, and of course the version. The requires is an important field as well. This is what tells the Spinnaker services that it needs to use this plugin. Great, so let's take a look at how you would add a plugin to your Spinnaker installation. So over here, I've got Halyard up top, I have a running Spinnaker installation down here, and I have my HAL configs, or at least part of my HAL config, shown on the bottom. As we can see, there's no plugins configured and no repositories. So let's add some. So this is the command to add a repository. So as you can see, we're doing HAL plugins repository add, giving it a name and a URL. Do note that we're pointing to the repositories.json in the example plugin repository. That is this file right here. However, we could point directly to the plugins.json if we would like. Also to note, you need to use the raw link. And in order to get that, if we click on plugins.json, if we click on raw, then up here in the URL, you can see the prepended raw and sending you to GitHub usercontent.com instead of github.com. Cool, so let's add this repository. I'm running Halyard on master right now. However, if you use Halyard 1.3.4 or greater, you'll be able to have access to all these plugin commands. Cool, so now we can see in the bottom right here that my repository has been added. Let's add a plugin now. So for this command, I'm running HAL plugins add. I'm giving it an ID, and notice that it's been namespaced. So Armory is the company that's providing this plugin, and Random Weight plugin is the plugin name itself. So we try to namespace our plugins. We're saying it is enabled. We're specifying the UI resource location for that in the random weight stage index.js file. We're specifying which extensions we'd like to add, and we're specifying the version. The optional pieces here are the UI resource location, as not all plugins have a UI resource, and the version. If you do not supply the version, the latest version will be chosen. Side note, the UI resource location is not ideal solution, and we are working on updating that in the future. So let's add this plugin to our configs. Cool. So now we can see that this plugin has been added. Under the plugin section, we see the Armory random weight plugin. It's got the ID. It's enabled. We have the UI resource location, our versions here, and then a list of extensions. Plugins can have multiple extensions or utilize multiple extensions, so we need to specify what we're using here. In this case, we've defined the Armory random weight stage, and there's no configs set as default. Right now, you cannot update configs via Halyard, so I'm going to do it by hand. I do know that this plugin in particular requires a configuration value, so I'm going to add that right now. The plugin that we're adding is the is the random weight plugin. This plugin will wait for a configurable amount of time, so up to a configurable amount of time. So by giving it a default max wait time of 5, when you run the stage, it will sleep for 0 to 5 seconds if no other max wait time is provided. Cool. Now all we have to do is do a how deploy apply. Now before we do that, let's see what's going on here. When a Spinnaker service starts up, it's going to be looking at the configured repositories, and then we'll look in each of those repositories for the configured plugin. Going back to that plugins.json, what will happen is the Orca will start up and look at the repository.json, which points to this plugins.json file, and it will look up version 1016 and then download this plugin binary. So let's see it in action. We're going to run how deploy apply, and we expect the services to restart and no failures. So let's try it out. Cool. So we can see our containers are creating. In particular, we're most interested in Orca and Deck. And now the old instances are terminating. Orca is still starting up. And now it's running. All right, so let's take a look at the Orca logs. All right. So we can see Orca had started up. PF4J starts up. There's no plugins local, so it reads the configured repositories. It downloads the PF4J stage plugin, the right version, expands that zip, and calls start. If you saw one of the earlier videos about backend development, this is the area that we put a breakpoint in when developing locally. So as you can see, Orca started up and is ready to serve traffic. Your plugin is now available for use, and that's about it. Thanks very much.